The Unity House Band, Kevin Hirasa on guitar, Ian Sheridan on the bass, and our first timer right here, Wendell Ching on the drums. Look out now. Thank you. Woo! Well, this thing seems to be working good. All right. We're continuing on with our voyage to the 7 C's. This is our last one, and our ports of call are communication and clarity. And I think they really go together well. When we're talking about communication, we're also including communication when it's difficult, when there's hard issues we're dealing with, or there's big emotions going on with it. And in terms of clarity, that includes honesty, authenticity, and what I really like is authenticity. Yeah. So mindfulness plays into this because when we're mindful, when we're aware of what's going on, we're in the moment, and we're also aware of the thoughts and the feelings that come up. After a while, we begin to perceive our authentic self. We often call it in Unity the Christ consciousness, or the spark of divinity within. In Buddhism, they call it the Buddha nature. It's something that's common in many traditions. And it actually boils down to wisdom and compassion. And when we begin to experience that and feel it, and it starts to take over, our communication improves radically because that wisdom and compassion inform how we're acting with the other person. And after a while, we also begin to see the authentic self in the other person. We see their wisdom and compassion. And even if there's a difficult issue, even if the other person's acting out and angry, we can see through that. We can see that their true nature is love, is wisdom, is compassion. And our communication gets so much better, so much more constructive, so much more clear. Now, mindfulness is defined, for one, by Jon Kabat-Zinn, the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction therapy, as paying attention deliberately in the moment without judgment. So that means no matter what's going on in our mind, we come back to whatever we're doing or the conversation we're having. And we avoid judging, like we don't say, this moment is good, this moment is bad, I like this, I don't like that. And we're fully there. It allows us to be purely there in the moment. Now, this isn't some kind of commandment like we're trying to avoid judging. It means like I can't have any judgments anymore. And the same thing with the mind that continues to wander on, and any thoughts that we have, even negative thoughts. We don't squash them or try to get rid of them or ignore them. That's often been termed in New Thought recently as a spiritual bypass. So we don't want to do that. We let those things come in. We're aware of them. The judgments, the negative thoughts, all that stuff. But then the difference is we let it go and come back to the next moment. So that's a little definition of mindfulness. And we can practice that throughout the day, no matter what we're doing, all day long, which is a wonderful way of making it an all-day practice. And that also implies that mindfulness is a way of life. So what would it look like if we lived a whole day in mindfulness? So we wake up in the morning. We're aware of our mind coming out of dreamland and coming back to wherever we are. We're aware of our body. So we feel the muscles start coming back to life. We feel those sensations, the awareness of being in the mattress or wherever we are. We go on to go to the bathroom. We do that mindfully. We get cleaned up a little bit. We're aware of the sensations of getting cleaned up and the feelings we have. We go downstairs and make breakfast. So we're aware of the sensation of chopping the food, of the heat from the pan, of stirring things around, putting it on the plate, etc. And then, as we eat breakfast, we're aware of eating. We're aware of the smell of the food, the action of putting it in our mouths, the taste, the sensation of it going down our throats into our stomachs, and the feeling of the nutrients going into our bloodstream. So we feel that awakening, that energizing that comes from eating. And then we drive off to work. We can drive mindfully. Instead of thinking about what's going on in the day, we can actually be aware of the sensations and emotions of driving the car and of doing what we need to do to get there safely, like changing lanes at the right time. we get to work, maybe we have to deal with a document we have to fill out or something like that, and that's when our judging mind starts to come in. I don't feel like doing this. I'd rather do something more creative than filling out a doc. So we're aware of that, we let it go, and we come back to the doc. And maybe that openness and awareness, we get different ideas how to do it better, maybe more efficiently. And then maybe we have a meeting with some of our colleagues. So any preconceived notions we have, we're aware of, and we let those go too. Like the song was saying, concepts about how they are, how I am. And that's an important thing with communication. If we let go, first we're aware, but then we let go of our concepts of other people. They're like this. Oh, that's her. Yeah, she's like that. If we can let those go, then we see with fresh eyes. We can see people like for the first time. That greatly improves our communication because we're more open to them and to where we're coming from too. As you know, I'm a musician, so it's pretty creative. Of course, I love it, but there's a lot of gigs where I play the same stuff all the time. Like I do Japanese weddings, and the music for the ceremonies itself are set. They're the same songs every time, and I've probably done thousands of them by now. So it's real easy to get lost in thought because you can go on autopilot, But I found trying to practice mindfulness lately, even though it's something I've played so many times, when I let go of that thinking mind and I come back to just that moment of playing, different ways of playing this stuff come like different ways of voicing the chords, different ways of playing the melody, and it feels like the first time. And it helps me to feel the music so much more. And I can tell that the audience feels it more because I'm feeling it more. So then we drive home mindfully. Maybe we do a workout. Now workouts can be very repetitive too. If you're jogging or running, it's left, right, left, right. If you're lifting weights, even if you have a variety of moves you're doing, when you're at the one particular move, like you're doing this over and over again. I like to practice with a rowing machine sometimes, so that's really repetitive because all you're doing is over and over again for like half hour, 45 minutes. But I also found that when I tried to do that mindfully, I discovered there's a lot of form elements in that exercise. So not only are you extending, but you're bending over, and when you come back, you're arching your back. So it makes the stroke longer, so it's more efficient, and you burn more calories. But also, whether I'm doing the rowing machine or the weights, when I'm really aware, when I'm really into it, the workout becomes more powerful. Like the rowing machine, when I go back, I realize my abs are being worked out there. And with the weights, you can feel the action of it and really get into it. So then we eat dinner mindfully again. And maybe we have a discussion, maybe we have a significant other, we have a discussion with them at that point. So, again, we might be aware that we have this preconceived notion of them, especially if it's somebody that we've been with for a long time. And maybe we have a preconceived notion of how we're supposed to be in the relationship. But with mindfulness, we see that more clearly, and we can let go of it and just come to the moment where we're discussing with each other. And we can see with new eyes. And even if it's somebody we've been with for decades, we can see them like for the first time again. And we can learn things about them that we had no idea that was true about them. Discovery, that openness. It's beautiful. Now, besides this everyday mindfulness throughout the day, we can supercharge our ability to be aware and to let go and to come back by formal practice. So what we do is we're away from action. We just sit there and we let ourselves be aware of whatever comes up. Sounds, feelings in our body, thoughts, emotions. And that mind that wants to chat around all day comes up inevitably. But we don't judge ourselves over it. We just come back. I invite you to join me in a little period of this formal practice right now. Stretch out a little bit. Sit upright but comfortably. close your eyes if you like to do it that way, or just soft focus straight ahead like this. Just be aware of our natural breathing for a couple of breaths. If you like, you can continue to be aware of your breathing as an anchor in between the other awarenesses. Or else just be aware. So let's just be aware of whatever comes into our awareness. You might hear the fan, might hear a sound, feel a sensation in your body. A thought might come, be aware of it. An emotion. Whatever comes up. If your mind, like mine often does, continues to go into tangents, goes on a trip to the past and the future, that's okay. Once you're aware of it, come back to the next moment. I invite you to open your eyes and return to this room. That's a very valuable practice. I encourage you to do it, maybe regularly, like 20 to 30 minutes a day, or when there's a convenient time, like when you're going to sleep, or when you have a break at work, or even short mini practices, like when you're at a traffic light or stuck in traffic, or waiting in line. And when we're aware, especially when we're aware of our thoughts and emotions, we see them more clearly. We don't latch onto them, we don't get hung up by them or run by them, but we see them more clearly, and then we let them go. And that process, that simple process, can really help us get to know ourselves better, see where our thoughts are coming from. And they can be the most horrible thoughts. I know if I'm like really tired or sick or something, I can have very negative thoughts. And in New Thought, we're tempted to always want to be positive. And it's like, why am I having these thoughts? I shouldn't have these thoughts. I'm a terrible person. I got to squash them and get rid of them. But this practice is just allowing everything. We have what we might consider a horrible thought. We don't go with it, of course. We don't take action on it. We're just aware of it, and then we watch it go away. And in that learning about ourselves, that's when gradually our authentic self comes to the surface. It's not something we attain. It's not something we work on. It's always there. It's our true nature. And the idea of practice is to allow it to come out. And as that happens more and more, when we get into communication, we see that in the other person. And again, that wisdom and compassion guides us in our communication. Another thing is planning and making decisions. Now, sometimes it sounds like mindfulness means you're trying not to think at all. You're not paying attention to your thoughts. So how do we do that, plan or make decisions? Well, one thing is, when we have a decision to make, for example, we don't consciously start thinking about it all through the day while we're driving, making breakfast, working out, all that things. We do allow the thoughts to come, and sometime a thought will just pop up that'll give us a real insight of what we're trying to decide about. And the other side of it is we can spend a dedicated time to decision-making or planning. And similar to our formal practice, like sit down and be aware and just allow that decision to pop in from time to time. But another difference is we don't spend a lot of time super micro-analyzing that stuff. We allow this true self, this innate wisdom and compassion guide our decisions. Now in Unity, we have a wonderful example of that. Charles Fillmore, who along with Myrtle Fillmore is the co-founder of Unity, used to go into meditation for hours at a time, which as we experienced before, in Unity is often called the silence. And he would use that process to come to decisions and make plans. Now, Charles Fillmore also had another word for it, another term for it, which was going to headquarters. I'm sure some of you heard that before. So, somebody would say, Charles, did you come to a decision about that thing? And he would say, no, I got to go to headquarters. So that's the way of looking at it too. Go to headquarters. Allow that higher self to guide the decision-making process. So I encourage you to do that formal practice and to do this every day, day-long mindfulness practice. And in communication, let go of your concepts of self and other. Allow those thoughts to come, then let them go. And allow that divine self, that authentic self, to guide your conversation and to see what the other person is talking about. And that way, our communication will be greatly increased. And if that mind that's constantly wondering tries to come on in, as soon as you realize it, just come back. Thank you.